So it's struggling by any chance?
Yeah, this is worse.
Yes, I can see.
It's shaking.
Got 2 more to go.
Oh, do I?
And the legs down.
So this week I have a really cool topic. It's a swear word, and that is injury. How to look at injury, how to cope with injury, the mindset around injury. I hope you enjoy. So I'm here in the physio room with Dawn Nunes in Hillcrest, and I'm going to be asking her some questions. I've got a little niggle on my knee, but I know this is the right place to be. Dawn is incredible. And I'll take you through a bit of a journey on how to do injury prevention. So I'm sitting here with Dawn, and I have an injury, and this is probably the worst flippant thing for runners. You get an injury and it's like your whole world falls apart. So Dawn, I just wanted to ask you, you obviously are a runner and you get a lot of people that come in here with injuries and massive disappointments.
Yep.
How do you sort of deal with that mental aspect of it? You know, runners coming in, I've got comrades or I've got a big event I'm training towards. Is this injury going to stop me from running? And also, people don't want to come because they are injured and they're scared. You're going to tell them to stop running.
100%. And I think that is the biggest question. I think the first thing is just to let people know that, you know, I'm a runner, I'm a physiotherapist, and I can help. And I think it's just to take a step back and take one step at a time. So the first thing we do is find out what is your main goal. So just to find out your main goal, so for you, the Cartloop 100 miler, but then you've got your stepping stones. So for example, say a 40 mile or 40 mile marathon that you have coming up in say 3 months time or 2 months time, and then we work towards that. So that is your next goal. So if it means, depending on the injury, that we've got to stop you or reduce your training just for 2 or 3 days, or adapt it, so maybe do some cross training, so we won't stop if we can. We'll try to do something else to keep you ticking over. But it means you can get to that 40-mile goal, which is your little goal for the big goal. That's what we're aiming for. And it's just to take it step by step, but be very specific. So I'm very specific with the training. So if it's something, for example, the hamstring, we've got to back off on the speed and we've got to back off on the hills. And that's what I do. That's where I come in. I look at your training, I look at what you need, and I look at where the injury is and the time frame and also your goals, and get you there in more than one piece. We actually want to get you stronger and actually in much better form than before. Okay, so I've obviously had that little niggle on my knee that I've been speaking to you about. Tell me, so we're going to go through this running assessment. Can you tell me a little bit more about it and why you do it? So I'm talking, I don't want to get injured going forward, and I also want to deal with my current injury. What is this about? 100%. So what I've developed is I've developed a running assessment. That's just a 2-page assessment, really basic, but it's basic but detailed in the sense that if you come in with an injury, what we need to do is obviously assess your injury first, see what it is that's the problem, treat that as needed, and as long as you can run, we'll then do the running assessment, because obviously there might be a condition that if it's very flared up, we don't want to get you running yet, or to do the assessment, because we want to see how you are running painfully in your natural running stance. And what we do is we just go over it. So we take your basic details, we take what is normal for you in terms of your paces, and especially your training. So what is your training? Not only with running, but with gym work, with swimming, or anything else that you like to do. And I have a good look at that to see, is it evenly spaced? Have you got your easy days and your long days, or your faster days? Are they nicely mixed up? And then also just going through things like coaches, do you belong to a running club and things like that, and recovery. Then what we do is we go and take you outside and we watch you run. So I've got an app on my phone that I use, and I will video you running, and I run you video from the back and from the front and on the side, and then I go through it detailed with you. So I'll look through your cadence, so your steps, I'll look through your stride length, I'll look through everything, but related with what your problem is. So if you have a calf niggle, I'll see what your toe off is to see, is there a problem, are you limping, are you favouring one side, and we'll take that all into consideration. And then the best part about it is we'll go through that with you, but afterwards what I do is then I'll sit alone with it and write up a detailed description of what I feel you need to do. But
We all have busy lives, and it has to be manageable. So what I try and do is I try and find 3 to 5 exercises that'll be specific for you, but make a big difference, but are very doable, kind of 3 to 5 times a day if needed, depending on the injury. And then I'll maybe even tweak your running a little bit, but only if needed. I do not change what's not broken. We all have funny running styles, but if it works, just leave it alone. But if I feel it's directly related to your injury, or if I feel that your knees are coming in and it might create an ITB syndrome later on, then I'll try and see if we can adjust that to prevent things as well.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about prevention methods. Obviously, the best part or the ideal thing is not to get injured on your training. So what are some of the things you can do on an ongoing basis that are going to help you?
Okay, so I think the first thing is to have a plan. So I think it's really important to have a plan with your training. So you've got your goal in mind, you've got your 100-miler that you're going to do, and you've got your training schedule. I know you've got a coach that you work very closely with, which is important for this big event. But I think also to have a plan, but also to know that if your body is tired or you're finding that you're struggling a little bit, that we can adjust that plan, and not to be so strict on the plan that regardless of how your body feels, you stick with that plan. And I think that's where we as runners often come a cropper. We kind of stick with it rigidly, and it's good that we've got that plan and we stick to it, but we don't listen to our bodies. And I think that's the first sign. So the one thing I would suggest, which is quite nice, we've got this scale called a perception of effort scale that we use. So what we do with that is we say to a person, and you can just add it into your daily logbook, you literally have number 0 to 10 with how hard you're finding your run. So if you go on a run and it's an 8K run and you're finding, hey, this is a cool run, I'm finding it's easy going, it's maybe a 3 and a 4, so it's quite easy going, not too bad. But then the next day you decide to go and do speed work up hills, and you find you are knackered, you are so tired, and it has been really, really hard workout. So you're going to probably give that maybe an 8 out of 10, where you found it's a hard training. Now the next day you go out again and you do an easy run, which should be an easy run, but you find on your 8K easy run, you're finding it's really hard going, but your pace is normal and everything else seems normal. You're still going to rate that run maybe an 8 out of 10 because you feel that it's a really hard run despite it looking like it's an easy run. Now what we do with those scales is we just keep a monitor of that, so you can just look at your scale and see how that is. But if there are too many 8s and 9s and 10s, or 7 8s, 9s and 10s in a row, and you're not getting those 3s, 4s and 5s in, you need to be careful, because what that means is your body is tired. Whether it's from lack of sleep, whether it's from pushing too hard in training, whether it's from lack of nutritional care, there can be a number of reasons. Whether it's stress at work, it really can be, or kids, a lot of factors involved in that. But you've just got to recognize regardless that your body is tired. And then what you need to do from there is then to just back off a little bit, even take an extra rest day if you need to, and then start again and kind of reset. And then see that the perception of effort scales gets down a little bit. So that's a big one, I would say, in terms of big prevention, and it's an easy way to monitor and to go from there.
I just want to take this moment to thank Dawn for her time and sharing her knowledge with us, and also for letting me pester her with a whole bunch of questions. If you do have any more questions, please feel free to post any comments or queries down below. We would love to get back to you.